Hello. Well, in the last video I discovered a problem with my little 1/16 FJ. The right front wheel was freewheeling on it, and so I knew something was going on in the wheel or in the axle, and it turned out to be, I think, that I forgot to put Loctite on the grub screw for the little dog bone, and I think it eventually worked loose and broke this piece out on the dog bone. I think that was my mistake. So for someone who's using these inexpensive little axles, it may be advantageous to double check that that Loctite is on everything and super tight. I'm learning that I need to check and double check every little thing on these things. When I put this axle back together, I'll use some 2.5 socket head, hex head screws. Just cut them off to length. I like to buy these longer screws to give me options for different lengths that I need. And a little tip I'd like to forward to folks out there who are using these little axles. Someone on YouTube, I can't remember his name, I'm sorry, had suggested a method for taking this slack out of that cup, and what he did was put a small rubber O-ring down inside the cup. I've tried that on others axles that I have, and it worked really well. I know why they have all that slack in there. It's to help prevent binding up when you're steering, but in my experience all that slack isn't needed, and it really helps putting that little O-ring in there. So I got the new dog bone installed on the axle, and I inserted the O-rings in each cup, and I'll see if I can illustrate the difference in slack. Now there's no slack at all in there. Well, just a little bit. And there's going to be some flexibility in that rubber O-ring, which I think will help too. Well, I've done this in other cars, and it works great. Also, if anyone knows a quick, easy way to grease these tiny little 3mm ID bearings for these axles, give me a shout, because I sure would love to know a quick, easy way to grease these things. I usually just pack it in the best I can with between my fingers, and I've noticed that I have bearings wearing out. So I don't know if it's just because of the abuse that I'm giving them with these heavy cars, or if I'm not getting grease adequately in the bearing. I'm just putting the finishing touches on the axle reassembly. I got the socket head screws in there. That's going to come in handy when I take it apart to repair it next week, more than likely. But that's just the nature of the beast, I guess. Just doing a last tightening of that link and put her back in the car, see how she works. Well, I'm reinstalling the axle in the car. For my little setup here, I threaded this piece and put a piece of M3 threaded rod in, so the upper control arms then will connect like this, and then these standoffs are 3x10, maybe 3mm thread in them. I was just trying to figure out a quick, easy way to be able to have axle mounted servo, and this enabled me to make just a really simple plate for the servo mount. Now this plate fits over those standoffs. My camera is focused well enough. Plate fits over the standoffs, and this little spacer goes on the axle bridge. I haven't gotten rid of all my Phillips head screws yet, but in this particular application it was handy. I wanted the screws to be as flush with the side of the plate as possible. Okay, I got the front axle reinstalled, and putting those little rubber O-rings in the cups really made a big difference. These things are notorious for play in the steering, and right now, yeah, there's some play, but that's it. That's all there is. I don't know if you can see that. So I guess I'm pretty happy with that. Before I put those O-rings in, there was lots and lots of play. So yeah, I'm happy about that. A little more on this side, but holy cow, for these, for what they are, yeah, these inexpensive components, I'm pretty okay with that. I think that's going to be okay. A little bit of bounce in the front, not bad. Very little in the back. The front shocks are a little closer to vertical than the rear shocks, so that's probably why that is. But we'll see what happens. I think there are some fairly good snow conditions out in the yard right now. Lots of snow still, but it's kind of hard packed, so I'm going to give it a try. We got the steering servo reinstalled, so we'll give her a try. Thanks for joining me. Take care.